Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Now, recently I've been talking about the reissued Maurice Abravanel Utah Symphony Tchaikovsky Symphony and Other Orchestral Pieces cycle on Vox/Naxos. But there was more Abravanel Tchaikovsky out there, not necessarily on Vox. For example, the complete Nutcracker with the Swan Lake suite on Vanguard. And I don't even know where the Vanguard catalog is now. I hope it's somewhere because there's just some great stuff there, including a ton of stuff with Abravanel in Utah and a lot of unusual repertoire. Now, when this was made, let's see, when was it made? I have no idea when it was made. I always start a sentence and then I can't finish it. Wait a minute here, because I'm sure that there's a date. There must be a recording date. Oh, here it is. Thank goodness. 1967. There it is. That was 1961 was the Nutcracker. So in 1961, complete Nutcrackers were not all that thick on the field. You know, there was Antal Dorati, of course, who was, I think that was done by 61. It was a Mercury Living Presence. But also, I mean, this was one of the few. And a couple of you have mentioned when I've been talking about Abravanel and Tchaikovsky that he did this terrific Nutcracker. Now, I have to confess, I have not heard this in like a long, long time, decades and decades and decades. I got it in when it was an LP because it was inexpensive. Then I got the CD because it was inexpensive. And it went into my collection. But since then, and one of the problems with being a critic or collector or music lover, just a general music person in the classical music universe, is that you may have a performance that you always enjoyed, but then 30,000 other ones showed up. And so it's very hard to keep track of it. I mean, I have a very, very good musical memory, and I have a very good memory for differences between performances, which serves one well when one is a critic. For example, I always remembered the very hard, bright sound of the glockenspiel in the big Christmas tree episode in this particular performance. And it was a hallmark, actually, of a performance that's extraordinarily vivid and transparent. Really phenomenal. I mean, the battle scene with the Mouse King has so much clarity and excitement too. It is an extraordinary performance. It really is. There have been quite a few others since, and so the extraordinarinosity of this kind of got shunted aside in my memory. And so I am very grateful to those of you who mentioned this performance, which allowed me to go back and listen to it again and dig it out, since I'm going through the overflow room and Tchaikovsky is coming up and this was sitting there. So I was able to, snag it and play it again. And wow, what a great performance it is. First of all, it's wonderfully well recorded, beautifully recorded. Some of those recordings from Utah were just terrific in terms of just naturalness and transparency. And second of all, like I said, it's a performance of tremendous clarity. And the Nutcracker is, of course, one of the great pieces of orchestration in the history of humanity. It's unbelievably glorious, merely as an orchestral work. And so it's so much fun just to listen to a performance that relishes all of those instrumental timbres and does it with such evident joy. It's just marvelous, absolutely marvelous. And when you get to the second act, where you have all the characteristic dances, those are the pieces that mostly make up the Nutcracker suite. Wow, they are beautiful. I mean, the trepak, jumping it up, bumping it up. I mean, the precision and rhythm that Abravanel gets these players to do, it's just great. I mean, he was a great ballet music conductor. He always was. And, it just goes to show what I've said before, which is, there was a time in the early 60s, I mean, this is particularly the 60s, when everybody was playing lots of Tchaikovsky and they just knew how to do it and do it really, really well. And my goodness, they do it well. I mean, the Swan Lake suite, which accompanies this, is a smoker. Wow, it's just phenomenal. It's just as good. It's stupendously exciting and gutsy and passionate, and you would never believe that this is what was then a really second tier provincial orchestra. I mean, playing this music, they just know it, and they do it beautifully. And Abravanel has them playing as if their lives depended on it. And that's true of both of these performances. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you very, very sincerely for mentioning this performance once again. And I've just had such a great time getting to know it all over. I mean, there were so many marvelous moments that I hadn't remembered. And it's just a perfectly paced, glorious, complete Nutcracker. And so if you can still get it, and you can, I've seen it around, it shouldn't be hard to find, and it's downloadable. I actually liked it so much, I stuck it on my phone and played it going back and forth to work on the train a couple times, just for the sheer joy of it. It's wonderful listening to this music when there's like scenery moving past, when you're on a train and you hear it moving along. Oh, it's great. So there you go, friends. Give it a shot. If you haven't, you'll be happy you did. Keep on listening and take care.